Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Higher or Lower, brought to you by oddschecker, SpreadX and Sporting Index. This is the show where we look ahead to the weekend's football in the Premier League and the Championship and say if we think the spread betting markets, the eventualities will result in higher or lower than the midpoint of those. It's been a while since I've been sat in this chair.
Feels like ages, doesn't it?
Yeah, sad. Yeah. I'm your host, George Ellick.
Do you and Dan still get on okay? Because it just
I've actually just messaged him now.
No,
angry, saying Anfield, FFS.
Well, yeah, he was
there. Because he was at the game last night. I normally do quite a lot of work for oddschecker in horse racing. I was there for Cheltenham, risked some serious domestics with my wife in order to get there. And they've gone off to Aintree, have been invited.
They didn't want to risk it again.
Went to the Merseyside derby last night. Unbelievable.
Not much of a game.
Anyway.
You were better off at home.
What did I do last night? Yeah, I was right.
Yeah, good.
Jack Wright.
Hello.
Sam Ty.
Hello.
How are you both?
Good, good.
How was Dan hosting last week?
He was fine. He got the intro and the outro. Well, actually, he did say that he was going to talk Premier League, and then there was no Premier League games on the entire bill, so he did apologise for that. But apart from that, it was great.
The FA Cup.
Yes,
apparently, you did very well.
I had a great week. That's why I'm back this week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with the money.
No, I was. This is why. This is why I was
Lovely
invited
to know that
back.
you are donating your money this week.
Nope.
Okay. Your fee. Right, enough on that. Yes, the Premier League is back this weekend, but we're going to kick off with a game in the Championship. Before we do, if you haven't already got a SpreadX account or a Sporting Index account, make sure you sign up for one using the link in the description. Loads of new customer offers on there. Make sure you read up on the risks of spread betting before you do so. Losses can exceed your initial deposit and so on and so forth. Blackburn host Middlesbrough in... This is one of those games that when Sky Sports would have chosen it for TV, it would have felt like a clash between two sides going for the playoffs. But Blackburn are now terrible. Borough are very much in with a chance of getting the playoffs. They're one of the front runners. Total goals is the line we're looking at here. 2.6 is the midpoint, 2.5 to sell, 2.7 to buy. Total amount of goals in the game. This was SpreadX. Higher or lower? 1, 2, 3. Well, normally, Sam.
Damn.
Normally, what we would do.
Damn.
Is you would we'd go to the person who says the opposite.
Yes.
But you've already asked off air not to come to you first. So I'll go first.
I wouldn't want to be shown up, would I?
I'll go first. So, Borough under Carrick, generally a relatively high-scoring team.
Yeah.
They possess a lot of attacking quality. Finn Azaz, one of the best attacking players in the league, in my opinion. Tommy Conway's goals per 90 this season has been very, very strong. Kelechi Iheanacho's had a torrid time as a Middlesbrough player, having arrived in January to replace the departing Emmanuel Latalath. But he scored his first goal for the club, frustratingly, against Oxford on Saturday, having already hit the woodwork. They're a side who are, for the most part, score goals. Blackburn, under John Eustace, for a side that didn't score loads of goals, didn't concede loads of goals, but they've now got Valérien Ismaël in. And as I alluded to a second ago, it is not going well. Like as an Oxford fan, I'm very angry with Valérien Ismaël because they have lost. Since he took over, they've lost to Swansea, who were in the relegation battle at that time. Derby were in the relegation zone at that time. Stoke, who were just above the relegation zone at that time. Cardiff, who are currently in the relegation zone. And Portsmouth, who are in the relegation battle.
They've only got 1 point.
Basically, yeah. Blackburn, that was against Norwich. Blackburn, if Oxford do get relegated this season, the second most important reason why, apart from Oxford being bad, is Blackburn, which is a frustrating position to be in. But the thing, and these games have been relatively low scoring. The only games that would have covered the 2.5 goal line would have been the Derby game and the Cardiff game. But the thing that I want to point out here, and the most pressing factor in me going over in this, is that Borough have a bit of a defensive crisis at the moment in terms of who is available to them. You look at the back four from their game against Oxford, where Johnny Howson, aged 36, someone who shouldn't really be starting games for them at the moment, is playing right side centre back. They've got Sam Milling Jr., Villa legend, playing at left wing back, who has played a lot of football at left back, but is like an aggressively attacking left back. Is very much a winger when at Juventus and bought by Villa as a winger, you'd think. Although it wouldn't surprise me if he became a left back in time. Anthony Dijksteel, who's a very attack-minded right wing back. And then Neto Borges, who has played, who's a left back playing at centre back. that meant that Oxford created loads of opportunities in the first half on Saturday. They're a bit of a mess at the back. And for that reason, given that Borough are a strong attacking side, but issues defensively up against a Blackburn side who are just bad, I think this will be a game that Borough will win, but I wouldn't be surprised me at all if they conceded in the process of doing so. Jacqueline.
Tony, there's not much more I can add to that, really. I think you've covered every single
I did a lot of research.
base. Yeah, you did well. It's as if you know your stuff on the EFL.
Thank you very much.
And I just think, this is a game that it's so tight around those playoffs that Blackburn, Middlesbrough have got to go and win at Blackburn, really.
Yeah.
They'll see it, given the form, that this is a game that they should go and win. And as I say, they're currently in that situation where they're 7th, but level on points with West Brom in that final playoff spot. But they're only 5 clear of Blackburn, who are down in 11th and who are on the same point as Sheffield Wednesday on 12th. So, I agree with you in the fact that my rationale behind it is I think Borough win, but I think they concede. So therefore, that automatically covers the line that we're looking for here, and for all the reasons you've already pointed out. So nothing further to add, Your Honour.
Sam?
Well, I usually start the show by saying I'm no expert on the EFL. So the first game that we present...
You were, when Villa were in it.
I was last week.
Yes.
You got that right.
When I got that one right somehow. So I hate starting the show on that premise. That
Yes.
Don't listen to me on this one. And I hate it even more when the two guys that do watch the EFL disagree with the paddle that I show up. But I just looked at Blackburn's slide and a relative lack of goal scoring ability, and the fact that Borough were away, and came to a very simple face value conclusion that Borough were going to grind out a victory on the low scoring side. And that was it.
Lovely stuff. Simple as that. On to the second game, and this is where you are an expert, so we'll be looking forward to hearing your thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
Everton hosting Arsenal. This is total goal minutes is the market here, so the total cumulative minutes in which goals are scored within the game, 1-2-1. That is a low line. 116 to sell, 126 to buy. Higher or lower? 3, 2, 1. Yeah, madness,
There
isn't
we
it?
go.
Sam?
Yeah, I mean, look, Everton's recent games the last 4 have all come in two goals basically, the 3 1-1s in a row and then a 1-0. So the goal flurry has calmed down, which kind of initially points you towards lower on goals or goal minutes. But this is a low line, it is really low. Probably those results feeding into that, and the fact that Arsenal have obviously dried up a little bit in terms of goal scoring over the last couple of months. But I think there's a couple of interesting factors here that takes this over. So Arsenal's defensive injury crisis is definitely one of them. Typically speaking, you'd be looking at Arsenal in any game here and you'd be thinking 50-50 on whether they even concede one, right?
Yeah.
Let alone enough to start covering these lines. But this is not going to be the Arsenal defence that we've been watching for the last year and a half or so. This is going to be Miles Lewis-Skelly at left back, Jakub Kiwior at left centre back, Saliba, and then probably Thomas Partey at right back, because all the right backs are injured, all 3 of them. So Thomas Partey is going to have to sit in there. So this is no longer qualifying as like a steely defence. And Everton, I do think that at home, with these final Goodison games, they get a really nice atmosphere going, they get a good bit of momentum, and I would back them to score. But then, of course, on the Arsenal side, Saka is back, so their goal-scoring capacity rises immensely.
Sure.
And you know what? Maybe Arsenal rotate a bit anyway, because they've got this really big game against Real Madrid coming up, and this game doesn't matter at all. So what if it gets a bit weird and a bit wonderful, and the goals start flowing? And that's what I'd go for.
Talking of weird and wonderful, Jack?
You're half right.
Ooh, interesting.
Well, I'll leave it to everyone to decide which half is right and which is wrong. But you know what I mean? Yeah, each to their own. I agree. I think there's a couple of things that lend this to being relatively tight early on. The time and the kick-off for starters, the quick turnaround, the fact that obviously both were in midweek action, after that international break and all the usual stuff. And so the fact that it's an early kick-off here can be a little bit of a slow burner. Also, these two sides, over the course of the season, don't tend to feature many first-half goals. Everton rank the highest as far as games being drawn at half-time is concerned. They've had 7 0-0s in the first half, 8 draws in total. And Arsenal matched that as well, exactly the same record, 7 0-0s and 8 half-time draws. Everton are the highest at home as far as that's concerned, and Arsenal are third highest. you mentioned Saka, and I think one of the key elements here is that I'd expect he'll start on the bench and he'll come on later on. So I think that there might be more attacking talent and more threat for Arsenal as we get later into the game. So my idea of the game is that it's going to be quite tight, quite cagey, a little bit of a slow burner, get to half time, and then the second half it then might open up. And so a couple of goals in the second half is generally going to hit this line, and it could even go beyond that. But I think the key elements are the more attacking players, i.e. Saka, is coming on later on in the game to influence it.
I agree. I agree. He built off my point beautifully.
Everton's last 5 games at home: 3-2, 4-0, 2-2, 2-2, 1-1.
Goals.
That's just enough for me, really. You know,
Okay.
like that's just goalsy.
Goalsy.
Feels like there's a lot of.
They generally score with Moyes, don't they? Under
just-
Moyes, they've scored, and they were a bit unlucky not to last night.
And they're not like they're just not, you know, particularly defensive at home. And like and as you say with Arsenal's incredible attacking, like in those it's easy to look at Everton's goal score column 3-4-2-2-1, but it's also the fact they only kept 1 clean sheet in those 5 games, and they've conceded 2 or more goals in 3 of them. Like you have to think Arsenal are going to cause them problems, and Everton aren't going to look to just sit and frustrate. So yeah, I mean I'm really surprised to see how.
I also think that Goodison element is a massive part of it. The fact that they want every game to be a little bit of a spectacle for the fans, and the fans will want that, and the atmosphere will be built around that as well. So I think that does play into it.
Arsenal at home is a big game, like for
Yeah,
any
yeah.
club in the Premier League. Like it's an occasion, let alone the fact that it's one of your final stretch games at Goodison Park. So that I agree, that's a big factor.
Yeah, for sure. Right. Next up, we have got, if I can find it, Aston Villa, your club, hosting Nottingham Forest, two European Cup winners, famously. Time of first goal, the European Cup winner derby. Time of first goal is the market here. So the time which the first goal is scored within the game, 33.5 is the midpoint with SpreadX. That means if you're selling, you think there'll be a goal in the first 33 minutes. Buying or higher, it means you think it'll be 0-0 after 34. 3, 2, 1.
There we go.
On my own.
You're on
Basically, I was trying to visualise this game. And there's no denying that Villa have unbelievable tools to attack and transition at the moment. Like you look at that first, the Rashford's goal against Brighton on Wednesday night, which hits the back of the net, 15 seconds after a Brighton corner's taken.
Yeah, Villa Liverpooled them.
Yeah.
That was like, because Villa have had that done to them by Mohamed Salah this season. So it's quite nice to see it go the other way round.
And I kind of just think that Nuno is a tricky opponent for Villa to come up against, given the way that you currently attack, where they're going to be incredibly compact. They're going to look to draw out this tie as long as possible. Obviously, they have very good attacking threat themselves, but I think the view that he's going to have to take here is we just cannot leave any space in behind. We've got to nullify the pace that they've got in transition, and look to kind of set up shop early and then grind the game out. So I think that this is a game where Villa might be frustrated early on, where we might not see Villa's attacking threat flourish until later on in the game, and they'll look to keep it incredibly tight. For that reason, I think it's going to be a cagey start and happy to go higher.
But what if Forest score early?
Well, but as I said, I don't think they're going to come out away from home and set their stall out to do so. They might score early.
No, they might score on the counter.
And then I lose.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah.
For sure.
But for me, it kind of works both ways on higher. Sorry, lower.
Yes.
Lower.
About to say, that's great news.
No, it was a bit of gut feel. Helped by a stat I get. Like the average time of a goal at Villa Park this season is 30 minutes, so it comes in just under. So that helps a little bit. But then also, the big influence is watching Anthony Elanga run 85 metres with the ball and score in like the 7th minute. I can certainly see that happening. I can certainly see Forest will play exactly as you describe.
Yeah.
40% of the ball, block in,
Yeah.
try and hit Villa on the counter, and Villa will play in a way that allows that to happen because Villa will try to open up at home and play and get players forward. So that it does really lend itself to that game plan for Nuno, which is a tricky situation for Villa to be in. And it could be that Hudson-Odoi or Elanga or whoever just runs through and does that, because I've seen several teams, Brentford, Palace, do exactly that to Villa this season. But there's another angle here, which is that Forest, for the first time this season, I think are actually experiencing genuine problems with injuries. And they feel more vulnerable right now than I think they have at any point this campaign. And that's not to completely denounce the fact that Danilo broke his ankle in the opening day, and that is an injury. But They replaced him
That's
with
an
2
injury.
players.
Medical
injury.
science has proven so.
It is an injury.
Yeah.
But no, I don't like saying, they've not had any injuries.
Yeah.
Because that's not fair. But they managed to replace Danilo very efficiently, and then no one else got injured for 28 games. It's been incredible. But now Chris Wood has a problem with his hip, and I don't know if he's going to be fit to play. Ola Aina limped off in midweek, and he's going to miss his first game of the season. Who replaced him off the bench? Alex Moreno. Can't play against his parent club. We're looking at Harry Toffolo here. 45
Good
minutes.
Toffs.
Club legend.
45 minutes of Premier League football this season, and I think he's going to have to start this game. Probably at left wing back, and they'll go to the back three. So all of a sudden, for the first time in literally like 6 months, I'm looking at Forest and I'm like, bit of vulnerability. Like it's going to be different. That consistency that you've relied on, and I wonder if that plays to Villa in terms of that uncertainty, and maybe an early goal can come.
Yeah, hard to.
I was not expecting to hear the name Harry Toffolo today.
No, it's a
Or
bonus,
possibly
isn't it?
even this year.
Yeah.
So that's nice.
I think it's good. I think
Well,
it has
until the
to be
summer
him.
when he signs for. Interesting. Who would Harry Toffolo sign for? Norwich, maybe.
Don't think so.
No?
No.
Okay.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
So, I agree. I think this has got the makings of 2 sides that can hurt each other and kind of stylistically suits itself to an early goal. I also pinpointed the Aina situation as well, in the fact that obviously Rashford is a key man at the minute. Will he still be central, or will they go, oh, actually we can use him on that side to really exploit an area of weakness? And not a bad replacement to come in, possibly like an Ollie Watkins going through the middle, and that looks like a real threat. And you've got so many players in those forward areas. Whoever you pick is going to be a massive threat for Forest, and as we know, Forest are lethal on the break. You talked about Everton's games under David Moyes, but like in the recent weeks, the Forest away games have been wild in the league. Certainly, 2-4, 4-3, 2-1, 5-0. Lots of goals in those games. Villa have got the tools to hurt them. They've obviously got a massive game coming up following midweek as well. So they've got the opportunity to put a win down to obviously keep in that race to finish in the top 5 and get Champions League football again for next season. So lots on the game. Again, big atmosphere. Should be a cracker. Later kick-off, isn't it? So it's the 5:30 kick-off. So should be good. But I just feel that there is good scope for there to be goals in this one with the attack and talent and the way they play on show.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Just late goals. On to the Manchester derby now. It is at Old Trafford. United hosting City. City favourites for this one. We're looking at the supremacy market with Sporting Index, but only marginal favourites. 0.4 the supremacy here. So higher is just any City win. Lower is United or draw. You've got that look on your face, chat, but like how many times have we been here? And we all go against United.
Yeah, I remember it the other week we did Arsenal. We were all agreed, right?
Yeah.
And it didn't.
And
what game week are we on? 30, 31. So I think we've probably done it about 29, 30 times this season.
and as we know, they've won every game this season.
Yeah, they have, yeah.
So higher or lower, 0.4 higher. City win, lower, United or draw, 3-2-1. Just can't.
Oh, yes!
I love it.
I've had to.
Why?
Just because of what we said.
Yeah, literally just changed it this last second. Do you know what? My thought process was I just get Man United wrong whatever I do. You know, one of us is going to finally one of us is going to get it right, because we just get it wrong every week. And you think, oh, they've shown a little bit of shoots of recovery, and then they put in a naff performance. But I've got it in my head that, one, I normally call them wrong, but two, they do just seem to get up for these kind of games. The Cities, the Arsenals, the Liverpools, they will go and put some kind of performance together and not necessarily win this, but avoid defeat, which is kind of what I've gone for. And with City, they've looked more like themselves in the recent weeks. You know, they obviously didn't allow a shot from Bournemouth in the second half of the FA Cup tie. I think they allowed one shot from Leicester all game yesterday. So they've got that in them, but I'm still not 100% convinced, and enough to think that somehow, Manchester United can get some kind of positive result from the game, probably with a Bruno Fernandes goal, because he's the one who's doing it all for him at the moment. But yeah, I will say I'm not confident, but I'm going with the fact that I'm getting this United win and the draw on side.
I was pretty tempted to do the same, but in the end, last couple of weeks, I've made a bit of a resolution, call it an Easter resolution, to stop fading City, basically. And I've done quite well out of it, really, over the last couple of weeks. In particular, the Bournemouth game, again, came in. The game went roughly as I thought. Bournemouth would eventually run out of steam, and City would start to show the interplay, the linking, like the possession play that we've kind of forgotten they're capable of. And I'm trying not to underestimate City here, because I'm trying to recognise the fact that they are clearly, as you say, getting better. So United were generally perceived to have played quite well against Forest, which, I don't actually know how I feel about that, because in possession they had a lot of the ball, but their best chances were Harry Maguire on as a battering ram super sub striker in the last 10 minutes. And the defending, obviously, for the goal was shockingly bad. So I find it hard to believe that United actually played well there. They just played according to the Nottingham Forest game script. Yeah. They did what they were allowed to do, but no more. So I think my faith in City there goes above faith in United.
Yeah, and I think this is just a huge game for City. Like, not just in terms of the Manchester derby, but they're embroiled in this battle for, it should be fourth, but fourth and fifth, basically. But it's tight. Like, they are currently 1 point ahead of Newcastle, 2 points ahead of Chelsea. At the time of recording, that might change tonight, with both of those having a game in hand. They're only 3 points clear of Villa, 4 points clear of Brighton. There are enough teams in this that if City don't keep up their they don't improve their form at least, then they could fall out of the Champions League spots altogether, and that would be a massive disaster for them. Unlike United, where it's coming to this game knowing that it's basically bragging rights and like a need to improve that is the only real drive to perform. They are not going to get relegated. They're not going to qualify for Europe. So, the impetus to win kind of seems to dissipate a bit, and that's a big part of this. As you say, I think City are just they are improving again, you think, from those dark days around the turn of the year. And they're just a better side. Like, it's just they have to be more likely to win this than not, in my mind.
Yeah, just like Arsenal and Liverpool were the better sides.
No.
I've already dug my own grave on this one. I am resigned.
Last game we're going to preview is Leicester hosting Newcastle. Total goals is the market here with Sporting Index. 3.2 is the midpoint, 3.1 to sell, 3.3 to buy. Higher or lower? 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
Just be surprised.
It was a slight surprise, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go first here because it's very simple. I basically don't think Leicester are going to score.
Yeah. It's been 8th of December was the last time they scored at home in the Premier League
they
game.
are just a really bad side. It's going to be interesting to see all three relegated sides, assuming Ipswich do go down, because after last night, that's maybe not as done as we thought. Yeah, huge game this weekend. Probably should have had that in the running order. Dan?
Didn't know it was going to be this big until they beat Bournemouth.
Yes. But Leicester is just so poor. I think Newcastle run out. Cosy winners here. 1-0, 2-0, maybe 3-0, but even 3-0 is fine.
But you need them to score 4, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's all on Newcastle as well. You're asking one team to score 4 goals. It doesn't happen very often for a reason. If Leicester were any help here at all, I'd have gone higher. But I just can't see it. So, as I agree with you, it's an easy 2-0 win. But they don't need to go to 4. There's no need for that. So they don't have to push themselves to do that.
Yeah. And exactly the same reason. I don't see Leicester scoring. They just don't look. There's sides that go through runs of not scoring, and then there's sides like Leicester right now don't even look like scoring. They don't have any kind of cutting edge whatsoever. So I think they had one shot last night that came relatively early. I think it was a 0.01 xG effort as well. So not exactly a gilt-edged opportunity.
Did somebody shout at them? We haven't had a shot.
Shoot! Might have been from kickoff, but I don't know. It's poor, and I felt, well, look, Newcastle can go there and score 4-5. They obviously scored 8 at Sheffield United last season, but that is a once in a blue moon kind of scenario, and I feel they will win, and 2 or 3-0 seems about right. As I say, they don't need to go and put on a massive show, and for me, it seems to fit in neatly to that criterion. I think Leicester also in a little bit of damage limitation mode at this moment in time, where they're not seemingly wanting to get embarrassed in games, and they'll kind of take a 2-0 or 3-0 defeat as if to go, right, that isn't that bad. But they're in poor shape.
It's desperately depressing at the bottom of the table, isn't it, for
Yes.
those guys? It just really is.
Well, it's an Ipswich with that little glimmer of hope.
Yeah, that's true.
Leicester, I mean, they're only 3 points behind them, but it'd be pretty amazing.
There's just no hope, though, is there? There's nothing to cling on to. There's even turmoil within. This is a home game. They probably prefer to play away at the moment with how the atmosphere is at the King Power. So, yeah, I can't see anything other than what we've talked about there.
Absolutely. Now, 2 words are normally followed by no at the moment in my household. Nap time. Sam, what's your best bet of the weekend?
So looking at the games we haven't covered already, trying to find something new in the Premier League, I was a little bit surprised to see the West Ham Bournemouth supremacy market list Bournemouth as the favourites. I've had some success recently betting against Bournemouth, so I'm selling on that. I mean, I know that West Ham aren't the best team in the world, but West Ham have home advantage, and Bournemouth have 1 win in 7, which was a penalties victory against 10-man Wolves. So it's not like they're in stellar form. They have 3 losses in a row. They just lost to Ipswich. So I was, fundamentally surprised that Bournemouth ended up as the favourites in that matchup. So, yeah.
Sam's on because he's spitting absolute facts today.
Yeah.
Broken ankle is an injury.
Yeah.
And West Ham aren't, believe it or not, the best side in the world.
How do you come up with this stuff?
That's why he earns the big bucks.
Yeah. Jack?
Last week, I said that my nap was my strongest ever best bet when I sold goal minutes at Bristol Rovers. Or time of first goal at Bristol Rovers, apologies. This isn't quite as strong.
Did it win?
They scored in the first minute. I'm glad you asked. I'm so glad you asked. I thought he was going to let that slide then.
Oh, my goodness.
Sold the time of first goal, first minute. Oh, a joy to behold.
First minute.
The stats were very strong, weren't they? And these are pretty equally as strong stats. I'm going exactly the same market. If ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
In the Championship this time, it's Queen's Park Rangers versus Cardiff for pretty much the same reasons that I went with last week. So time of first goal.
Great. So 1 minute.
Midpoint is 38. Yeah, so exactly the same thing's going to happen, hopefully. 19 QPR home games so far this season in the league, averaging 2.89 per game. Of those 19, there's been a first half goal, which is always my first checkpoint. Let's get a goal in the first half in 16 of those 19. And all of those 16 have seen a goal before the 38th minute, including 7 of the last 8 at Loftus Road. The average time of the first goal this season is 25.5 minutes. There's only been 1-0 at Loftus Road as well, which is obviously the bogey thing that you do not want to be hitting when you're in this market, because that would settle at 90. QPR scored a first half goal in 11 of those home fixtures and conceded in 12. Cardiff's 19 away games average of 3.05 goals per game. There's been a first half goal in 16 also of their 19 road trips, before 38 in 15 of those, including all of the last 7. The last game that broke that sequence, Oxford, 41st minute.
What team?
I know, what a team. Still in the first half, but just a little bit late for what I'm looking for here. Those 7 games that I then mentioned, the first goal has come in the following times: 4th minute, 2nd minute, 12th minute, 9th minute, 6th minute, 2nd minute, 11th minute, and 1st minute. Come on, let's do it again. Average time of the first goal on the road this season, 21.5 minutes, only 1-0 as well. And there's been a goal in the opening 10 minutes in 9 of those 19 games, which is a lovely stat. Cardiff scored in the first half in 11. They've conceded in 15 away games this season in the first half. And across the season, the first half goal in 32 of 38 combined respective home and away fixtures. That's 84%. 31 of those have come before the 38th minute, which is 82% of games. Unsustainable.
Unsustainable. There you
That's
go.
what Dan said last week.
Did he? Well, he was sharp,
Cheers,
man.
Dan.
I've always said he's sharp.
Sharp
I've
and
always
wrong.
said he's sharp.
Sharp and wrong.
Right. I am looking at Luton against Leeds.
The El Derby.
And this is a game where someone who's backed Luton to get relegated at some big prices and someone who's all in on Leeds to win the league and also supports a team that are very much embroiled in the relegation clash. I wish this game wasn't at 12:30. I wish it was at 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
Because
Add some financial involvement into it as well. You've got an absolute perfect.
I don't need this to happen away from Oxford, Sheffield United. Like I need them to happen at the same time, so it's like a contained 2 hours of pain rather than it being strung out from 12:30 until 5 o'clock. Anyway, buying total goal minutes here at 135, or midpoint's 130. For a few reasons, I think this game could go one of 2 ways, or it could go a few ways. But I think Leeds, as they have done on many occasions this season, could batter Luton, and especially given what happened last time out where they drew 2-2 against Swansea, could go out there and really try. They need to get promoted. They need to try and win the league, and away from home at a team, albeit in good form, but who are in the relegation zone, is a good opportunity to do that. And given that if they score early, Luton are going to have to come out against them, I think Leeds has a fair chance that Leeds turn the screw and beat them well. There's also a big conundrum here for Daniel Farke. What do you do with Illan Meslier? Because Meslier hasn't been that bad for the last few months, right? He was awful, and then he went through a period of doing okay. He saves a penalty against Swansea, and then he drops across, and they score. I don't think the mistake for the Vipotnik winner is that bad.
That was massively over-egged.
Massively. Like, if it's anyone else, if he makes the save there, you're like, great save. Redemption for the mistake. But what is really obvious is that the Leeds defenders, when you watch the goals go in, the way they react, you can see that they don't like playing with Meslier behind them. It's very obvious that they completely lost their faith in him, and you can understand why. So Farke's got a decision to make. Do you play Meslier, or do you bring in Carl Darlow? My hunch is that he wants to retain the faith of Meslier, but that he might be forced to play Carl Darlow, just because if anything happens again, it's just going to completely destroy what they've been doing. And because of their recent tendency to squander leads, no pun intended, if this game is tight, I think late goals come into it massively. We've seen Leeds score late goals away at Sheffield United recently, away at Sunderland recently. We've seen them concede late goals, as we say, against Swansea.
He scored late as well in that one.
Yeah, scored late. And QPR also had massive chances in that tool, George scored late on. So no matter which way this game goes, if it's Luton ahead and Leeds knocking on the door, whether it's Leeds ahead and it being tight and therefore nervy, or if Leeds racking up a score, I think late goals are massively on the cards here, and that's why I'm going to buy.
Yeah. I had a Leeds fan sent me a very interesting spread bet prior to the Swansea game, which was the Spread X market on the playoffs, which priced Leeds to sell at 2 and to buy at 4. Whereas if they win the playoffs, you get 100 points. Obviously, if they got up automatically, you would lose 4 times your stake. So the advice from the Leeds fan was worth a buy here, dropping out the automatics and into the playoffs.
I mean,
I think a minimum of 25 points for a playoff position.
So if they get promoted automatically, you lose
4 times your stake.
And if they go into the playoffs, they won't win the playoffs because
no, but you'd win.
Leads that.
Yeah, but you'd win a minimum of 25 times. It's set at 25 for them just being in the playoffs, being losing semi-finalists. So would be 21 times your stake.
Leeds, but if you speak to any Leeds fan, they'll tell you that Luton are a massive bet. It's always the way. Yeah, and last season they were right. There we have it. This week's episode of Higher or Lower, brought to you by oddschecker, SpreadX and Sporting Index. Make sure you check out Sporting Index and SpreadX for all of your spread betting needs across football, other sports as well. Aintree, of course, on the Grand National on Saturday. Plenty more going on to check out. The sites there. You can click on the link in the description below for a new customer offer if you haven't already got an account. And remember that losses can exceed your initial deposit. Please read up on the T's and C's and ensure you're gambling responsibly. Oddschecker have you covered for all your fixed odds betting needs, best prices, bookie offers, free bets, and everything like that on there. Thank you to you guys.
Thank you to you.
Cheers, buddy.
See you guys again next week. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the weekend sport, enjoy the sunshine, and please ensure that you are gambling responsibly.